Hi, this is part two of a two-part video series. But both of these videos stand alone, so don't sweat it. If you haven't watched the first one, you can watch this one and go back. That first video is called Future-Based Goal Setting. And so if you want to locate it, it's here on my YouTube channel, and it shouldn't be very hard to find. But in this video, we're going to talk about something that could affect your future-based goal setting. And in fact, it could affect any goal setting. And there are lots of times when we set goals. Excuse me. We set goals at the beginning of the year, of course, but we also do it at the beginning of the quarter for companies. We may do it 5 years out. We may do it on the day we get married with our spouse or when our new baby is born. So there are lots of milestones, real or invented, that we use as an opportunity to set new goals. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is regret aversion. And regret aversion is a kind of cognitive bias that can be both positive and negative. And I want to talk a little bit about both of those sides. So, very famous behavioral economist Danny Kahneman and his partner Amos Tversky had an insight that we are much more sensitive to negative experiences than positive. And in fact, our aversion to anything negative is much stronger. So, for example, if you were presented with the opportunity to win $100 and shoot, you pulled straws and you didn't get the short straw and you didn't win $100, that would suck for like, a minute, right? But imagine that you did the same game pulling straws to see who would pay the $100 and you lost. That would hurt. And that would hurt with a much greater sting than failing to lose the $100. In fact, even if you won the $100, losing it would hurt more than winning it would feel good. So that's the way in which we are far more sensitive to negative experiences than we are to positive. Now, regret aversion comes into play when we are sort of looking out into the future, as we do when we do future-based goal setting, and avoiding doing something that we're going to regret. Now, there are times when that decision is fairly inconsequential, right? You're on a diet, you look at the entree menu, you're trying to choose between fettuccine Alfredo and spaghetti bolognese. And you know that fettuccine Alfredo is just laden with fat. It's got cream and cheese and butter. And yet spaghetti bolognese is also delicious, but is made with a much lower fat sauce. And so you love fettuccine Alfredo, but you forgo it in order to have the spaghetti bolognese. Now, why are you doing that? Well, let's say you're on a fat-free diet and you're trying to lose weight and you're going to weigh yourself tomorrow morning and you're trying to avoid the regret of getting on the scale tomorrow, having gained 4 pounds from the fettuccine. So that's where regret aversion can be really positive. But as we look at more consequential things in our lives, regret aversion can be really damaging. In fact, it can be handicapping. Imagine you're up for a job and it's a really exciting job, but you're kind of uncertain about whether you're qualified. And so instead of sending off your resume and looking at your LinkedIn contacts and doing everything you can to get the job, you sort of pull your punch. You don't really go for it. You send the resume in an automated fashion. You don't find any contacts. You don't gather any recommendations, and you don't even write a cover letter. It's a kind of half-assed way of applying for a job, right? Why are you doing that? Because you're afraid that if you don't get the job and you allowed yourself to get your hopes up and do all of this work to get it, you'd be disappointed. And that sense of disappointment, even though it's only potential and in the future, and it's not certain, is so powerful that you decide not even to go for it. That's the case in which regret aversion undermines our ability to be all that we're committed to being. So you may be starting to see how this story ends. When you're doing future-based goal setting and you're looking out at the future and you're really painting the picture of how you're committed to this year or this 5 years or your life with your spouse or your child's life to play out, but you're concerned about being disappointed or failing, you can pull your punches there. You start hedging your bets. And instead of having the goal to run a marathon this year, you think about running a 10K. And instead of growing your company, instead of, throwing the the dart as far as you can and trying to get, $3 million Series A, you go, well, maybe we'll just get like $1 million convertible note. Or instead of trying to grow your company by 500%, which that may be excessive, but imagine you just commit to grow it by 30%. We do this all the time. We constantly hedge our bets with the most consequential decisions. You would think that in this case, our sort of FOMO, our fear of missing out, would be more powerful than our regret aversion. But in fact, it isn't. Now, you can use regret aversion to your advantage. You can use it, like I said, to choose the right entree because you look and chat with future you, and future you says, oh, come on, please don't do that to me. I don't want to get on the scale tomorrow and gain weight. Or future you says, please don't have that next cocktail on a Sunday night. I want to wake up fresh and really have a great working day on Monday. But future you can also say, look, don't push that hard for that job. Think about how much our feelings will be hurt if we don't get it. Or don't go for that gold medal because getting silver will really suck. Instead, let's just kind of coast through this race. When you are doing your future-based goal setting, do not let regret aversion hamper your goal setting. You want to be bold. You want to be expansive. So whatever you're looking at for your future-based goal setting, notice if you're hedging. Notice if you're pulling your punch, because where you can play big is now. Think about how Olympic athletes use regret aversion. And you could do this because you could invert it. They imagine themselves getting bronze. And that's such an appalling thought that instead of dropping out of the race or the competition, they work twice as hard to make sure they get gold. Because we know that if you look at a podium, this has actually been tested, if you look at an Olympic podium and you see who got gold, who got silver, who got bronze, well, you know who the happiest person is, right? The person who got gold. But you know who the saddest person is? Not the person who got bronze, but the person who got silver. Because they're thinking, if only I'd worked that much harder, I could have won. Of course, the person who got bronze is thinking, thank God I'm on the podium. I could have gotten fourth. It could be worse. Well, you want to be the person who uses your imagining of getting silver to provoke you to go for gold, or your imagining only having run that 10K with still gas in your tank. You don't want to be thinking about that. You want to think, I ran that marathon, and even though I walked that last mile, I crossed that finish line. I'm Ami Devereaux. I hope this has been useful, and thank you for spending this time with me. Please subscribe to my channel. It's right below this box on your screen. And also, I have a free online community that has no trolls, no ads. It doesn't sell you anything. And you can request to join that by going to www.beyondbetter.online. You do have to actually request to join, but I'm sure you're a great person and you would be a wonderful addition. So please do request it. And if you would like to get my newsletter directly into your inbox, just go to beyondbetter.io and a box will pop up and ask you to subscribe. That's all for now. See you soon.